Hello, and welcome to an all new episode of The Spotlight. I am your host, Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. I am here with my co-host. I'm going to start off with the one and only Jen. How you doing, Jen?
Awesome. Very awesome.
All
Seems
right.
like a good night to talk about finales.
Yes. And also joining us is Olaf Barbosa.
Hey, how you doing? It's like
All right.
I'm excited to talk about this tonight, which should be really interesting for me.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of strange, but this is episode 264. So before tonight, we're going to actually cover the True Detective season 3 finale. I wish we had covered the whole season because the season was amazing, but we wanted to at least cover the finale. So, but before we get into that, I wanted to go over some movie news and just, we're going to talk some weekend box office and go over the films that are coming out this year. Let me start off with some news that I just came across my desk. You like that? Just came across my desk. Will Smith will not be in the sequel to Suicide Squad. I just want to get your thoughts on that. Start off with you, Jen. What do you think about Will Smith won't be in the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn helmed Suicide Squad sequel?
Well, I mean, I'm glad James Gunn's on board because, I would watch James Gunn pretty much direct anything. But I feel like, I'm sorry, I like Will Smith. I do, but I don't feel like Will Smith necessarily gave anything to Suicide Squad that couldn't be picked up by somebody else.
Ooh.
I don't. What was so compelling? Give me one scene that you felt like, oh my God, nobody else could do that except Will Smith in Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
I can't.
I don't know, but I could say that about everybody in that movie, though.
I don't know if that's true.
He was the biggest
everybody.
star in the film, so I don't know. I wouldn't put if you didn't like the film, I wouldn't say it was because of Will Smith.
No, I'm not saying that it was not because of Will Smith. The Suicide Squad as a movie was a train wreck, but that isn't really the point. All I'm saying is I don't think that Suicide Squad is going to be, let's put it a different way. I don't think we're going to save Suicide Squad Part 2 just by having Will Smith be back in it. How's that?
But see, though, I want to see Will Smith do good, right? And
yeah, me too.
I think he hasn't really made an excellent film in a long time, and I would love to see him in something that might be very good. So this sequel could potentially be very good because who's directing it, and so I will see him in something good because it's been a minute since he's been in something that you're like, wow, that was awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, so that's the thing that I'm more disappointed in is I would like to see him in something good, and this might be very good,
And I don't get like what you say that Suicide Squad was a train wreck. Well, the name of the movie is Suicide Squad. What do you expect? Come on.
Yeah. That's for sure. That's funny. Yeah, so we'll see though what happens with the film, but so he will not be in the sequel.
You know how much I love James Gunn. I mean, I'm actually one of James Gunn's biggest cheerleaders, I think, but I don't really think that James Gunn can save Suicide Squad. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't know how in the world they would resurrect it. I just don't.
Maker, you should be able to.
I don't know. I have a lot of faith in the guy, and I'm sure that he will make it feel like better than. But I mean, that is just such a tall order. I don't know.
Why not? I mean, I don't. The material, the what it's based on is good. So why not? I mean, why couldn't he make it good?
I guess because the way that they created the first Suicide Squad, I don't know if anything can pull that out of the fire. But I mean, I've been wrong in the past, right? I mean, I was really not thinking that Aquaman was going to be all that great from the DC side, and all of a sudden it was great. And I don't just mean because Jason Momoa was in it. I mean, it was actually really good. It was way more. It was way lighter. It was way jovial. I mean, it actually had some good stuff in it. But I don't know how they pull Suicide Squad back from where I feel like it's. I don't know, and I also don't feel like enough people saw the original Suicide Squad to make it.
Hit. They made a lot of money.
It did not make that much money. Didn't make that much. I mean, it made a lot, but it didn't make. It wasn't blockbuster.
It made I think you're underestimating. It made a lot of money.
Oh, okay. Well, Jen, I'll be happy to be proven wrong.
For you to think that Suicide Squad could be pulled back around by this, the new director, it's like if he resurrected Zack and put him in there, then you would say it was all right.
I don't know, Olaf. I mean, I got lots of love for both of them, but I don't know.
Right.
But you know me, I'm always super optimistic about everything. But in this one case, I don't know. I have a foreboding feeling.
Okay, so
they can replace Will Smith and put Zack in there, and then you give it higher ratings. And they pulled it back out again. But
that would just be blasphemous at this point. I mean, that would just be absolute blasphemy.
What? I'm just Zack's dead.
Okay, so
that doesn't work.
Okay, this is I don't know if this is the final total, but it says the worldwide gross of Suicide Squad was $746 million.
Yeah, but what was the okay? Give me what the initial or what the opening was for Suicide Squad.
Okay. But I mean,
because Warcraft was a terrible movie and it grossed billions of dollars worldwide. So I mean,
a lot of people know you were saying that it didn't. I don't think a lot of people seen it, but I was like, a lot of people saw it. Like
that's what I'm saying.
First weekend, it made $133 million.
I mean, okay. I guess, for a superhero movie, I suppose that's not.
Yeah, it made.
It's quasi respectable.
And it went up against the Jason Bourne movie, which was only in its second week, and that was big. And Bad Moms was a big hit too, and that had only been out for two. It didn't do Marvel type numbers, but it did. That's why they're doing a sequel. Because it did, it almost made its budget back in the first week.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying that like all hope is lost. I'm saying pessimistically, I don't feel like the loss of Will Smith is going to make a dent in the movie, and that doesn't have anything to do with Will Smith not being good. It has to do with just the way that they're treating the subject matter. And I don't know. Maybe James Gunn can pull some, Guardians of the Galaxy magic out of his pocket.
If he's about that life,
he is. To do that. If anybody can do it, he can.
I don't want no excuses, James Gunn. You better come strong or don't come at all.
If you could co-collaborate with Brian Fuller, then I would say, yeah, okay, now you got something.
No. He got it. If he's so great, if he's so awesome, then he needs to be able to pull this out.
Yeah, and I'll go see it no matter what. Right? It doesn't matter. I will go see it, but just saying.
I mean, it didn't. I think they were hoping for like in the billions, but it what was that? Quadrupled his budget.
Yeah, if worldwide is right. Yeah.
Yeah, 746. Yeah, and it did very good on after it was out in the theater. So. Okay, so let's go over the current weekend box office. And this is from the weekend of February 22nd. to the 24th, 2019. Number 10, Run the Race. Number 9, The Upside. Number 8, Cold Pursuit. Number 7, Happy Death Day to You. Number 6, What Men Want. Number 5, Isn't It Romantic? Number 4, Fighting with My Family. Number 3 is the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Number 2 is Alita Battle Angel, which hasn't really grossed like people hoped it did. And number 1 is How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, which grossed $57 million.
Jeez.
So that was a great haul for that film.
Man, good for them.
Yeah, so that was this past weekend. And let's talk about what's coming out this weekend, March 1st, Friday. And I'm not going to do all the films. So what I'll do is read the synopsis. And I will ask you, is this something that sounds pleasant to you? Okay?
Okay.
So here's a film. It's called Furry. Okay. Sounds good already, right?
That sounds awesome.
All right. So
are any bronies credited in the? No, I'm just joking.
No, it looks like it's a Korean or Vietnamese action film. Okay, my bad.
Wow.
Starring a woman, Veronica. How you saying NGO? Okay, well that's her. It says, "I might be at the wrong place, but you took the wrong kid." That's the tagline. And let's see. The film is about a woman named Hai Fong, an ex-gangster who is lying low in the countryside after being a mother, but she can't escape her violent past. When her daughter is kidnapped, she jumps back into action and will go to any lengths to bring her daughter home.
Wow.
So, yes, it sounds good. So what do you guys think? We'll start off with you, Olaf. Does that sound like something you would go see?
Yeah, it sounds interesting. It's like I may probably go see it, but might be more likely to wait for it to come out, so I don't have to go to the theaters. But it kind of sounds like there was a version of Taken, but I'd probably go see it.
Vietnamese female Taken.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Jen?
No.
I thought you liked strong women characters.
I do, but I just don't like crazy martial arts movies. I don't know.
No, this looks like it's going to be a great movie of a woman kicking butt.
Nah. I just got a subscription to Shudder. Okay, I have so many demands on my entertainment time. I barely have time to go to the movies.
Oh, for those who have Shudder, a good friend of mine named Yosha Bean is in a documentary called Hello Horror Noir. And it's about,
is she in that?
Yeah, she's one of the people in it. So,
oh, nice. I didn't see her, but I will watch it through again.
Oh yeah, she's doesn't talk as a whole lot, but yeah, she's in there. She's one of the people in it.
Cool. That's a great documentary,
great
by the
documentary, way. Yes,
really good.
I'm very proud of my little sis. So, yes, I would see Furry at home, not necessarily in the theater. Great title.
Great title.
Great title. All right. So this next film that's coming out this weekend is called. Wait a minute. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is right. Okay. This next film is called The Wedding Guest, and it stars Dev Patel. You may remember him from Slumdog Millionaire and Lion, and also The Newsroom as well. Okay, so this film, the tagline is, "Do you know who sent me?" That's the tagline. All right. Wow. So this adventure thriller follows a mysterious British Muslim man played by Dev Patel, on his journey across Pakistan and India. He's heading to Pakistan to attend a wedding, armed with duct tape, a shotgun, and a plan to kidnap the bride-to-be. This looks like a dark suspense film with some intriguing twists. All right, so we'll start off with you, Jen. Does this sound like something that might be interesting?
No.
What?
No.
Duct tape, shotgun, and kidnapping a bride at a wedding?
Sounds like my last date. No, just joking.
Oh, man. And Dev Patel, no?
No, you know what? Okay, so this is sort of where I'm at right now. Okay. I'm not saying that sometimes those movies can't be good, but I sort of rely on other people to go before me to give me the heads up about, hey, this was great, no, it wasn't. Because I feel like, especially action thriller movies, they're so hit and miss.
Yeah, I like it because it's just not the same tired old white guy, you know. Like that's what I like. That it's at least it's different. It's diverse, you know.
Okay, so that's true.
Yeah,
that is really true.
But I don't know. But okay. So what about you, Olaf? I mean, come on now, duct tape and a wedding, and a shotgun.
It's like, hey, shotgun wedding. I'm there.
That's right.
And Jen, I tell you what, I'll go see it, and I'll help you out as far as whether you need to go see it or not. I'll go see it, and then I'm not going to tell you nothing. You're gonna have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, all right. Just give me the heads up. You know, yes or no.
I'll go see it, and then I'll let you know. It's like, hey, Jen, I saw it. And that'll be it.
You know, the problem with not seeing action thrillers in the theater is when they are good, they're really good, and they almost demand being seen on the big screen. But when they're not good, it's 90 minutes and plus of just scraping your nails because I mean, I'm not the kind of person that walks out on a movie. I never walk out on a movie. But at the same time, I mean, I've been to some that have just been, and especially recently, I don't know what it is that they think they're doing.
Some real snoozers.
I don't know if it's that. It's just like action thrillers feel like directors and producers have just thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, into the narrative, into the plot, and I mean, it sometimes things make sense and there is some kind of resolution, but there's always some weird, crazy plot twist at the very end, and it feels inauthentic. It doesn't even feel like we've been set up for it. It just feels like, hey, here's a bunch of burning cars, here's a bunch of people getting stabbed, here's a bunch of this, here's a bunch of guns, here's a bunch of car chases, and now at the end, oh my god, it was his sister. I mean, like, I don't know, it just doesn't, whatever. I'm probably in just a really pessimistic mood, but that's one of my big complaints right now with action thrillers.
Okay, and this next film, I couldn't even talk about this. This next film, I can say it now because it's out, and I can actually give my mini review to it. I saw this about maybe a couple of months ago. It's actually filmed by the great Neil Jordan, and it's called Greta, and it stars Isabelle Huppert and Chloe Grace Moretz.
Okay, that one I definitely want to see.
And I actually saw it, and I had to sign a thing saying I wouldn't even mention it, that I saw it to even my mother.
Wow.
So, okay, so let me read this, and before I say what my thoughts were on the film, I will tell you a little bit about the movie. Okay, it says, "She's really freaking me out." That's the tagline. Okay, so here we go. From the looks, it seems to be like a new mashup of A Simple Favor and Misery and Gone Girl with some. Wait, this does not. What the hell? Oh, okay. This is not like the actual synopsis. My bad. Here it goes. Isabelle Huppert and Chloe stars with Chloe Moretz, two people living in New York City who become friends, but Francis soon discovers nothing in Greta's life is what it seems. Okay, so it's about a crazy woman. Um, so wait, that was not good. That wasn't a good synopsis that they have here. Um, Basically, a woman. I'll say like this: a young girl finds a book bag on the subway and decides to be a good Samaritan and take the book bag to its rightful owner. And it's this older lady who she ends up befriending, and she basically finds out that this woman is crazy, and a lot of crazy stuff ensues after this. This her finding out. Okay. So anyway,
wasn't this done in Ireland?
I don't know.
I feel like
it looks like it was in New York, but they do a great job with that.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of this was shot in Ireland. I heard some advanced press about it and thought it sounded incredibly compelling.
I will tell you if it is compelling in a minute. Let's see where it's shot at. It says United States and Ireland. I know a lot of it was they did shoot in New York, but production location was in Toronto, New York City, and in Dublin as well.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
Yeah. All right, so let's start off with Olaf. That you want to see, Greta?
It sounds like it might be rather interesting. It's like crazy. Yeah. It's like I would probably go see it.
Okay, and what about you, Jen?
Yeah, I'll definitely go see that. I love stalker movies. Stalker movies are one of my favorite genre types because there's so many ways to mix it up, and generally when you've got that kind of movie, the writer is very careful to reveal awesome clues sort of as you go. It's generally always well done.
Well, one thing you can expect with a Neil Jordan film or project is that Stephen Ray is going to be in it, and he's definitely in it. he's definitely in it. He has a pretty nice little part in it. But going back to this film, as I said, I saw it a couple of months ago, and they said that it doesn't, some of it may not have been finished or whatever, or they may reshoot or whatever. But from what I saw, it was a very good film. Isabella Huppert was awesome. Like, she was frightening in this film. Like, you definitely would be scared of this lady, right?
Ooh.
The acting was great. Chloe Moretz was very good. She's solid. She's a solid little actress. The performances were pretty good. Overall, it's a good film. It's not a great film. There's a couple of aspects of the film that I would definitely have changed. So one of the acts, I would say the last third, there were some things I was kind of iffy about, but it's definitely worth seeing in the theater. But I wouldn't say it's something that you have to see in the theater. But it's a good, solid film. It's predictable. It goes. It's pretty predictable. There's some aspects of it where you're like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. But for the most part, it's something you've seen before. But I enjoyed it, and it seemed like the audience enjoyed it as well. So I definitely would suggest you see it. But I could say you could wait for it on Blu-ray or cable or something like that. That's for sure.
On demand.
Yes. Okay, and last and definitely least, I have to do it to him. Medea family funeral. Oh God.
Oh, good Lord.
Um,
Can we bury the franchise after this?
well, look, I don't blame him. I mean, who couldn't use another $100 million?
It's true.
You know,
It's true.
a joyous family reunion turns into a hilarious nightmare as Medea and the crew travel to the backwoods of Georgia and expectedly plan a funeral, which threatens to reveal sordid family secrets. Um, I am not a fan of the Medea series. I really don't like Tyler Perry's work. You know, more power to him. He's amassed a huge empire, you know, and I respect that part of his hustle. But I'm gonna start off first. I'm not gonna see it on. If I was on Pluto and that's the only movie they had, I wouldn't be watching it. So, you know, so no Medea family funeral. It says she puts the fun in funeral. Oh God. All right. So Jen, you taking the kids?
No, I think we'll probably watch Overlord again because that was good.
Okay. We're not talking about Overlord though.
I'm just saying. Everybody, I'm just saying, you know, as a alternative, you might as well watch something good. Okay, I'll say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And Olaf, are you gonna go see Medea's?
Yeah, I won't. I wouldn't see it in the theater. I'd wait for it to hit the, hit cable so I can watch it for free.
You know, it's funny because in my house, we actually do have people that love those kinds of movies, and they will
Really?
watch them.
Well,
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I like them. I think I've just watched one of them there earlier today. One of the Medea movies.
Oh,
I mean, I like them, but it's
Not
I'm not
something
going
you
to.
want
I'm
to-
not not to go to a theater and pay money to see it. No.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, let's get to the main event of tonight. And the main event is True Detective Season 3, the season finale. Now, Olaf has not seen True Detective right at all, right, this year?
Right.
So what he's going to do is he's going to play the person who is going to listen to our conversation and decide if this sounds like something that he wants to see, even though we're about to spoil it. So, spoiler alert.
I'm going to supply the witty banter. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes. So we said this last week, but I'm going to reiterate some of the things that we said. We're not going to go hard into recapping the whole season, but as you know, the trajectory of this series, that the first season is beloved. It was an amazing first season. I mean, there's not enough great things you can say about the first season of True Detective. Season 2 is not beloved. A lot of diehard True Detective fans were very disappointed in the second season. I didn't hate the second season as much as a lot of people did, but I do admit it's definitely not up to standard with the first season. Now, season 3, in my estimation, is just amazing. You know, because people always ask me, do you think it's as good as the first season? You know what? It's one of those things where they're both great, but in totally different ways, even though there's a lot of similarity with the first and third season in tone, in subject matter, in kind of the structure. Is somewhat similar, but very different. And so it's almost like, it's kind of like with like parents would say, you picking your favorite kid. I would say season 1 and 3 are equally great, and they're great in different ways, right? So do you agree with me on that, Jen?
Well, you're right. I think they're different. you like them for different reasons. I do think, though, after finally getting through the last part of the season, I really did like season one more. Season one more. I didn't, and I'll tell you why. The last couple of episodes of True Detective season 3, they were tight, right? I mean, there was some really tense moments happening, and I liked that, but I also feel there were a number of times when my attention started wandering because maybe they were trying to narratively crush too much inside of each episode. And as a result, it just sort of got overloaded or story bloated in some ways. And that to me is sort of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, everything was technically as good as season 1, but narratively something is still just a tiny bit off. And I think in retrospect, part of it is I feel like there are timing issues happening in the latter half of season 3 that didn't happen in season 1. So I still am a season 1 purist. Everything was great. I loved every single moment of it. But season 3 is so watchable. It is so watching, because then when you get to the finale, it's I know people who think that the season itself felt unfair because of the finale, and I know that we'll get to that, but I didn't feel that way. I liked it.
I would say the thing, just talking about it as overall, that I would say season 1 was more centered on the one character more so, and then every character was like more of a, like I'm talking about the Russ Cole character,
right?
Was so it had that, it was more singular, even though you had your other characters, but whereas I think in this show, this season, yes, you had Hayes, but you also had his partner, his wife, and you had more moving parts, I would say, than the first season, a lot more, or they had more weight behind it. But I think the thing that I would say that gives season 3 of True Detective an edge or whatever on the first season in a way is the love story is so amazing in this, because it's so hokey and and it's fulfilling in the end, because it's so realistic. like guys, Olaf, if you saw it, you would be like, even though you're not a detective, you can totally relate to that relationship, like in a lot of ways. Even though I didn't fight in war or a police department, or had the things, but just the ups and downs of a relationship through over 35 years, you felt like you were really going on a journey with this couple. And one thing that the first season didn't have was the female characters were just kind of plot devices.
They were padding.
Right. Whereas in this one, his wife's character, Amelia, is truly her own character. She doesn't just serve the purpose of being his wife or girlfriend or whatnot. Like, you really go on a journey with her character, and she adds so much dimension to the series. And their love story is just really good. It's one of the best love stories, because I always criticize TV shows and movies of making the girlfriend or the wife, the annoying wife or girlfriend, and she had her moments where I was like, girl, but she was, I just enjoyed her character, and I enjoyed their relationship.
The thing is that
the depiction of the relationship.
A whole lot of True Detective season 1 with any of the female characters, they had no arc. There was zero character arc to them.
Right.
And definitely in season 3. his wife has a huge character arc. And
Right.
What's so interesting, I think, about season 3 that offset it from other seasons is the clever use of time as an actual narrative by itself.
Right.
Because yeah, and I really liked that. I feel like that was really clever and inventive on the part of what's his name? Nick. Right. Thank you. I keep wanting to call him Nico. I don't know why. But that to
Are
me
you a
felt,
Grand Theft Auto 4 fan, Nico Bellic?
yeah. Wow, I'm actually sort of embarrassed to say that I know what that means. Who?
No embarrassment there. That's a great game.
But that in and of itself made this season set apart differently in a good way, in a really good way. Like you wouldn't, which is one of the reasons that it's really hard to compare and contrast True Detective over the course of its seasons, because each one really is sort of wrapped completely differently and then unwrapped and told completely differently. So it is sort of tough to pick kind of like, well, what's great, because there's so many elements of them that is great. But this one, that definitely worked. I
think, it's funny though. The Rustin Cole character played by Matthew McConaughey is just an iconic type character.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is what it's on the page, but the performance by Matthew McConaughey is just remarkable. It's just like a collision of two wonderful, the writer and the acting talent coming together to make this great portrait of this character over all those years.
Well,
let me finish with this point.
Go ahead.
Now, the Hayes character is an amazing character, but he doesn't have the flair that the Matthew McConaughey had and the likability in that way. But they're great characters in totally different ways,
Well, the actor had the right gravitas to play that character. It's just that the character was written so differently,
right,
than Matthew McConaughey's character, that I think that in some ways the source material really dictated where he could go with it. And I feel like he did a really good job of staying very in character.
Oh, I mean, his performance was out of this world.
It was.
He was Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the best performances I've seen in a long time on television. And every year there's always great performances. So, it's just, I'm like my mouth on the floor, watching this guy, and he's been great for a long time. And as he's won 2 Academy Awards. And it's so funny because remember when Matthew McConaughey was on True Detective the first season, he won an Academy Award. And now, at the same time, right? And
that's right.
At the same time, you have Mahershala Ali win an Academy Award by, on True Detective. So it's pretty good, right? So, his performance is remarkable at all the decades. And so what I'm saying, though, is, and I don't want to spend too much time in the comparison of season 1 and 3, but I felt like it's something that was necessary to do. Let's talk about it.
Well, and also there's this really amazing group that is so dedicated to the series and has been all along, and it creates this fan base that comes up with, just like Westworld, just like a bunch of other shows, where the fan theories become almost as entertaining as the source material itself. So it's such an awesome journey to go on with people as they are watching the series, because you get so much interaction. It's one of the best fan groups out there that there is. Twitter is just amazing with True Detective.
Yeah, I think one reason is the show creator, Nick. Now I can't say his last name. Pluscato or whatever it is. Nick, some Italian name. he's a big conspiracy a buff, and I knew probably 15 minutes into the first season where he was inspired.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was from the story of the boys on the track. I don't know if you guys know about this story, but it's a very famous true story that took place in Mena, Arkansas, where these two boys were found on these train tracks, and it opened this whole thing about pedophile rings and Tyson Foods and Bill Clinton as well, and a bunch of other things. And so I knew pretty much Hoyt was essentially Don Tyson, who of Tyson Foods, basically. I'm not going to go into all of that. You just can Google the Boys on the Track story, which was a real life thing that took place in the early '90s, actually. And then also the Westminster 3, as well, loosely. That's the one with those three boys and the Satan.
Yeah.
That loosely had that a little bit of that in it, as well as other stories too. But I think that's probably the main one that he was inspired by, and I think he even came out and admitted that was an inspiration as well. So, but definitely a different story, because that one had to do with drugs. And if you ever seen the movie American Made with Tom Cruise, a little bit of that story is in it, very little.
Well, and Nick Pizzolatto did he did a whole bunch of interviews at the end, I think, of season 2, the beginning of season 3 at some point, and he talked about that. He talked about why conspiracy theories, no, not why conspiracy theories, but basically why that was such a huge draw. Why the more speculative a story is in pop culture, how that sort of permeates into our collective thinking, so that then when we see a story that is based on that, it's not that we need to necessarily like have that story retold. We all understand all of the cues that are in the story and what it means.
Oh, and the Franklin cover-up as well. If you know that one as well. These are all, there's so much stuff on YouTube and the internet, so I don't want to go too much into it. But the Franklin cover-up is another one where you get some of that in here. And also, I would say the Franklin cover-up, True Detective season 1 had a little bit of the elements of that in there as well. And I think they even said it. I think the woman who was the documentary director,
right?
I think she even said, if I remember correctly, she mentioned the Franklin cover-up as just drawing a comparison to it. So anyway, with all that said, I love those stories. They're very dark, true life stories. But when the minute I noticed it in there, that got my attention, because a lot of people don't know it. A lot of people are not aware of them. So and I just found it really cool that he tied some of that into it. But but anyway, with all that said, let's get into this finale. And let's start off with Olaf's buddy, Rucker, who played Mr. Hoyt. And he was not what I thought he was going to be.
Oh, Rucker?
Yes. He was not what I thought his character was going to be. And he was better than I could have thought, the way that his character was. And that scene, that was so built up from, the penultimate episode, of them, him getting in the car and the dialogue between them. And because it could have been really hokey. Right. And that dialogue, first of all, was very well written. The acting was very good. And I really enjoyed Rucker's performance as Mr. Hoyt. And because I think we all thought that he was this evil, diabolical mastermind, head of this pedophile ring or whatever. And you find out, yeah, he's an asshole, right? He is an asshole, an alcoholic asshole who, yeah, he controls different things and all of this, but he was in the dark as well.
That's right. He was in the dark.
Thinking, at first I thought he was lying, and then I realized he's trying to get information himself. And that dialogue, and it made sense why he wasn't killed, talking about Hayes.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, why wouldn't he just kill him? And all of this is like, he's not really the mafia, or, because I'm thinking he's like this Godfather type guy. And he's just a rich guy with power who uses his power to get what he wants. But he's not that person that I think a lot of us thought. And I actually liked it. And I loved how they talked about them both being, former soldiers and what that meant. And, there was threats made, and back and forth really, but, and I just loved how that played out. And it was surprisingly better than I thought, but not even in the way that I assumed that it was going to be. So I've done a lot of talking. So let's go to you, Jen. What did you think about that scene, and did it meet your expectations or what?
Well, I'm trying to think if I even had an expectation walking into it. I don't know if that's one of the things that True Detective continually does, right? I'll
try to find the clip. Maybe we could play some audio from it. But go ahead.
It's such an emotional, well, even when it's not an emotional roller coaster, it's such a roller coaster intellectually to keep up with what's going on. But I don't know. I'm sort of torn because I did actually like the scene that you're talking about a lot, but I don't know if it was as giant for me as I think maybe it was for others. I didn't. Okay, so a couple of things that sort of stand out right away. There are these moments, especially in the finale, where as you start making the correlations about what is really happening, what has happened, what's transpired, and what that ultimately means to all the characters, it's sort of because the reveal, and this is why I say some people didn't like it, because they felt like they'd been tricked. But because the reveal was as deep as the reveal was, it made all the performances around the reveal feel, and as they were getting down to it, it made it all feel so consequential, so important. And for that, every single interaction felt, I don't know what the word is exactly, but there was depth and weight to it. Right? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. You know what? Let me do this. Let me play some audio from it, and then maybe that'll give some context. And even Olaf, who hasn't seen it. So let me play the audio from it, and then we can talk about it some more. So here we go.
Your army, correct?
Can you hear it?
Yep.
Recon. Saw combat?
Many times.
I was 7th Infantry. Korea. Chosin. We took all the casualties so the Marines could turn tail. 30 below zero. Lost about 5,000 men.
I wouldn't imagine a man like you meets with a man like me to trade war stories.
We're both soldiers. You understand triage. My man, Harris James. I want to know what happened to him.
Something happened to him? Spoke a couple days ago up at your offices.
Don't start off by lying to me, Mr. Hayes.
Last time I saw him, all we did was talk.
What'd you talk about?
Julie Purcell.
That's the girl went missing. Been in the news again recent. What do you say about it?
Can't talk details since it's ongoing.
But you think Harris had something to do with this girl?
Yes, sir, I believe he did. Him and some others.
And you got no idea where he might be.
Might be he took off. You got him worried.
Cameras all around, corporate. Access roads to the plants, everywhere. Video of Harris's car pulling out of the gate. Followed a minute later by your cruiser.
You just have to follow up with some questions. Man's a hell of a talker.
I give you chance after chance, speak plain to me, and you keep throwing shit in my face.
You know, sir, I've always respected you and your family.
Family. That's what is. We only had one. Then Ellen got sick. Now Charles going too.
Something you want to get off your chest, sir? Nobody's gonna hear it but us. Mr. Hoyt, you want to tell me about Julie Purcell?
I don't know about Julie Purcell. I'm in the fucking dark. Well, I guess Harris didn't talk enough after all.
You know about the kid's uncle? Phone calls from the mother, Lucy. Harris going to Vegas. Same time she OD'd.
What I know, Harris's work beeper, newest thing, has a little computer chip keyed to our corporate system. Includes a GPS signal. And I have exact coordinates where Harris last was before it went dead. Now, you being the law, and me an interested party, should the two of us go out to those woods, see if we can find Harris James? And can you tell me, Mr. Hayes, are we gonna need fucking shovels?
I love it. I love it.
Man, there's so much happening in that scene.
Man, I love it. You know, because honestly, I think why some people were disappointed in it. And don't get me wrong, there is a very disappointing scene in this episode. It wasn't all great, but it was very disappointing. And I think you probably know what I'm going to get at. I guess we can tackle that one next. But I think sometimes when people have a thought of this is what something is, and it's not quite what it is, I think there's some disappointment or some expectations. And one thing I love about it was it wasn't what I thought it was going to be and who this character was, but I thought it was that in a good way. And the way that scene was built up, you know, because it's the first time we see his character. And I really enjoyed how I like the fact that I didn't see that one coming, you know, who he was. And I really love the way that they talk to each other with this. It's some respect, but it's also like, hey, you got something on me, I got something on you. And,
there is antagonism just below the surface,
right?
And you can feel it when you watch it. What you see between those two is it's almost a dance,
right?
And it feels so, it feels exactly the way that it feels to be talking to somebody when you think you know what is going on for them, and then you think that they're lying to you. And there's this, and yet at the same time you respect them when you have something sort of important going on with them. There is something so beautiful about the way that was orchestrated.
Right.
I did really like that particular piece. Yeah.
Yes, I did. I thought it was really good. And like I said, once again, kudos for those two actors who really acted their ass off in that scene.
Out of The Godfather.
Right.
It had that sense of like, I know what's going on, but everything felt like it was coded language. Which when he said I'm in the dark, or I'm in the dark, I don't know. So there were just things that got said inside of that, which they always feel so important. And then in retrospect, when you go back and think about it, you're like, oh my God, that's what that meant.
Mm-hmm. And this is episode 8 of season 3, and it's called Now Am Found, which is a reference to Amazing Grace, the line from Amazing Grace. Okay, let's get to the bad. The worst thing about the whole series, the season, oh my God. Okay, let's first start off by saying a friend of mine named Lamb just discovered the X-Files. I mean, he just discovered it. He's been watching it, and he was over, and he didn't even know that he saw like basically all the episodes and didn't know there were 2 movies. So we actually watched the movie, and there's a point why you may understand why I'm bringing this up. And I showed him the movie, right? And the reason why I bring up the X-Files is Stephen Williams, who was also on 21 Jump Street, as well as he was on Leftovers as well, makes an appearance on the show. And Stephen Williams was Mr. X on the X-Files. And he, on this, is the one-eyed black guy, better known as Mr. Jones, or Junis, or I forgot how they pronounced it in there. And one is I hated his character, and I hated how, it was done, the reveal of everything was done like hey, what's up, C Will? It was done like all right, it's story time, everybody. This is what happened. And he sits there and basically tells everybody all, what happened. And that's how we find out the reveal. And also, and then the whole somebody punish me, all that crap and all of that stuff. It was annoying. It was so disappointing, the show being that good, and that's how we get the reveal. And I wasn't, what actually happened I was fine with, and it wasn't what a lot of us thought had happened. I wasn't surprised that it was an accident, but that was disappointing about that whole scene. It just was corny and hacky for something that was so good, So I said enough for right now. What do you think about that scene?
Yeah, I'm sort of with you on it. I although I don't know if it bothered me as much as maybe it bothered some people. And it didn't, I don't know. It felt a little, it felt a little off kilter in comparison to everything else, but it didn't bother me at all. No, of everything that bothered me in this particular episode, I don't feel like that was the one that threw everything off.
Oh, that
I
scene was
just
so
don't.
corny and hacky.
It was, but I do think that the I don't think that was actually. I don't know how to. I'm not sure how to say this because I don't want to say that it could have been done better. I sort of feel like that was like put in there as sort of a stopgap. Like maybe it was written on the fly or something. I don't know. You're right. It didn't really fit with everything, but I don't know. It didn't bother me either. It was just it was corny. You're right. That's about all it was. It was just corny.
Yes, and you are too kind. That was and the thing that sucked about it was that for a season that was so good, that was was unfortunate.
Right, because in comparison to all the rest of the performances and all the rest of the scenes at large, it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb.
You're right.
Yeah.
And a bad finale could derail an amazing season, and that one scene was, even though it was crappy and hacky and all of that, it didn't destroy the how great the season was. And to be fair, a lot of people didn't care for the season 1 finale as well.
Okay. So wait. So let's talk about that. Okay. The idea that the season finales are that they somehow don't live up to our expectations, I think has a lot to do with the fact that we work up our expectations of what we expect to be resolution, and when that resolution doesn't go the way that we think that it should go, I feel like that's why a lot of people, especially people that do professional reviews, said that they felt like the season had tricked them with a cheap trick, that for him to be a detective and not know what was going on in his own backyard basically was so disingenuous to the character, because how can he be such a great detective and not know this stuff? But I disagree in the sense that
it's called True Detective, not Great Detective.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and I actually disagree with that premise altogether. Understand why people get so wrapped up in this idea that the expectation of what is to come is going to be something monumental, and when it isn't the monumental and it veers back toward the mundane, well, I shouldn't say there's nothing about that was mundane, but when it veers back toward the closely personal, I feel like people get upset not because they don't like the resolution itself, but because the resolution itself is something that they could not have known, right? There were no clues for us to follow to get to that point. And I do think that is one lesson that he could learn as a writer. I mean, I'm not giving him, sorry, Nick, I'm not giving you pro tips as a writer. I'm just saying that from a fan perspective, nobody likes it when you blindside them. And it did sort of feel like we got blindsided by the ending. Not that it wasn't still good. It was still great.
I think if you watch the show, if you go back and look at it, all signs do go to that conclusion.
If you know it in retrospect.
Right. And no, I'm saying if you go back knowing what, and rewatch it, it will add up to what it turned out to be.
But honestly, there is no way to figure that out. In other words, like he didn't drop clues that were big enough for anybody to form even a theory around. And I mean, I've read a bunch of them, so I feel like I can at least say that of all the theories that were out there, that wasn't one of them.
Well, but see, though, my thing is, sometimes something sucks. And it isn't just about your expectations. It's just, it wasn't good enough. I'll give you a great example and I hate to keep talking about things that are not True Detective, but Heroes season 1, that finale was garbage. It was an amazing first season that ended with trash. It was garbage. It was a garbage ending to an amazing season. And to be honest with you, it was so bad. It undid all the goodness they did in 24 episodes or whatever it was. So and a bad ending can do that. Now in this case, I didn't think the True Detective season 1 ending was bad. I think it goes more in line to what you said, that I think people had their expectations of what was going to happen, and it didn't happen the way they thought it would or it should. It actually ended more realistically,
Yes,
You know,
yes, and there's a part of me that feels like it is that mundane, and I guess that's why I use the word, that sense of the mundane that made people feel this isn't a worthy ending.
Right. They're used to being fed an ending that, that you would expect in a Hollywood thing. And it was more like what would probably really happen. And I was so happy because honestly, me personally, and I don't represent the masses, love that ending better than if it ended like in a Hollywood ending. You know what I'm saying? But I knew when I saw it that I already knew what the reaction was going to be, because people want the ending that made them feel they wanted a satisfying ending. One of the reasons why Law and Order was so amazing when it first started was it didn't always end wrapped up with a bow.
Right.
At times. A lot of times it did, but it was one of the few shows that there were ambiguous endings, or it wasn't totally, you know what I'm saying? And that was so great about it. And a show called Homicide: Life on the Street probably did it the best, in the cop genre of that. And so in this season, the ending, I didn't like that reveal of, how I just didn't like the way it was presented. But if you take that out, with that aside, it was an amazing finale. Other than that moment, let's go on to some other things that made it great. And I'm gonna go back to the relationship for the very last part of it. But what was awesome was I love the scene with the partner Roland, when he picks the fight in the bar, and then he gets he ultimately gets his ass kicked. And I just love how he's sitting there crying, and then the dog comes, and I knew it was coming, but it was a great moment, and it was great for his arc, and it tied everything together for Roland. And I just thought that was a brilliant moment in the finale with his character. And it really, I think the thing that makes this one that you can tilt in this season's favor versus the first one, because we're just going to X out the second one, is that I felt like his character was way better than the Woody Harrelson character as far as what he got to do and the way there was an arc. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like his character was a better partner character for the main character, Hayes.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I do.
Yeah.
Also, just if I can speak by way of what that partnership felt like, I think that's what carried a lot of the simpler moments of the season, is that relationship.
Right.
Because and that relationship never felt forced. It always felt really like on point. Also, did you notice that this season, this is just a random thought, but did you notice that this season that a whole lot of how the characters interact had to do with alcohol?
Yes.
That was a thing, right? I didn't just imagine that.
No, it was a huge thing.
I didn't pick that up during the this season. It was like a lot of drinking or whatever. I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, alcohol, smoking, obviously
alcohol usage was I didn't see it.
They talk so much about drinks and drinking, and even when they're not talking about it, you visually see it as an important aspect of the scene, so that it's not just a prop. It's not like a shot glass is just a prop. It feels like it is an organic part of the story. I really thought that maybe I was overemphasizing it, but now I'm kind of wondering if I did. I feel like it was just huge.
I would think that that they would be talking about, like, the vitamin waters and things like that. When they're talking about the different drinks and stuff. That's what I would put it. Vitamin water, coconut, coconut milk and things like that.
Well, the reason that I bring it up is because I'm wondering if that had anything to do with like giving us sort of the clue in about how broken people are. That alcohol is not that like alcohol is a cohesive element to who they are, not just a crutch or a prop to use every now and again. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
I know.
And with enough alcohol, it breaks a lot of people. So
Well, right, but I, one of my most sort of hated and loved tropes in storytelling is when people turn to alcohol, it both frees the truth and brings out the worst in people. And so you have this there were always these moments in True Detective season 3 where alcohol played a part of sort of doing both, either bringing out the worst or bringing out the truth. And it was so interesting. And I haven't seen that in a while, and I really liked it.
Oh, and another aspect I really want to focus on is the production. Like, I mean, the cinematography and the editing, as well as the score, was just flat out amazing. I mean, the first of all, the transitions were brilliant.
Yeah, the transitions were good.
I noticed transitions and all that kind of stuff, but in this one, and they're done purposefully too. They're not just to be cute, you know what I mean? And so that was pretty awesome about the show. And in the last 3 episodes was to go back to the X-Files. The director Daniel Sackheim directed the 2nd episode of the X-Files and the Fluke Man episode as well. If you've watched that show. And Walking Dead too. He directed on that as well. But the directors and the cinematography was just outstanding. It was second to none.
I coached them on the transitions they were having. And I got them through the transitions.
I feel like that was also one of the functions of alcohol. Alcohol was also one of those great transitions. You know what else was also really excellent about this season? And I know it's such an unglorified piece of trivial information, but the sound editing was so on point that there were moments when I felt like I couldn't look away. Because this sounds crazy, but I couldn't look away because I wanted to make sure that what I was hearing was correct.
Yes.
That was so good.
I didn't help with that because they were actually on point with the sound, so I didn't have to help with that.
We are close to something
hilarious. Yeah.
That piece. I mean, obviously, everything else was also really good. Like you said, the cinematography, the lighting, the even just the small pieces, like how they crafted parts of the set in order to sort of make it easier for the characters to move in directions that then also sort of fit the story narrative. That was really neat. But it was the sound, and you're right, the transitions with that editing function that made especially the last couple of episodes be maybe more compelling than they would have been if those pieces were missing. Like, from a cinematic standpoint, they were so important to the actual story.
Well, thank you. I mean, I worked hard to get all that stuff to help him out, get all that stuff to work out good. So I'm glad to see that.
We're so glad you were there, Olaf.
Yeah,
we're
it
really
was
glad.
appreciated. That's like that. That makes me feel good that it was appreciated.
And we'll get to the big, there's obviously there was a twist in there, about Julie Purcell. And, I mean, when they said that Julie Purcell was dead, I never thought it was true. And it turned out, of course, it's not true that she wasn't dead. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to end on the relationship, because I just think that's the best thing about the show this season. But another thing I wanted to bring up was I also enjoyed about this episode was that they tied up a lot of loose ends. I mean, there's still some things that you want to see. You might want to know that they didn't. So they left some things, a mystery still. And from what I heard, was that they actually shot more stuff that would answer some of those questions, and they decided not to include it because I think it was going to be an hour and a half, and it turned out to be an hour and 19 minutes.
Right. So
one of the things that they did shoot that they didn't put in there was the death of Amelia. That they had actually shot that, and they decided not to put it in there, which I think it didn't need it. Me personally, I didn't think it needed. I mean, I heard people were disappointed that they didn't show it. I'm like, why? I mean, we know she's died. We don't.
I don't feel like
it's important.
Yeah, I don't feel like they needed to show that either. Although in some ways, I'm actually glad that they did shoot it, because at least for the actors involved, that there was something to sort of tangibly connect everything. So, I mean, maybe in that sense, it was sort of helpful. But I don't think we, the viewers, needed to see it.
No, not at all. And also, I really enjoyed that. And as a lot of people, and I was right in this camp, we thought that there was going to be something different with the daughter, Hayes' daughter, and there was going to be some explosive thing with it, and there really wasn't. And I thought to bring that up, and if there was going to be some kind of explosive reason why, with the daughter, to do it in the finale probably wasn't the best thing. And I'm glad they didn't. That wasn't it. They just let you know that the daughter was there, and they hadn't fallen out, or there was no, there was no big issue or something with the daughter. Because I remember a lot of people were speculating, like, oh, something happened with the daughter, or did the daughter get kidnapped, or they don't talk, and it really wasn't that at all. And so I was glad that, but so that was cool. Now, the reveal about the which was there, about the little boy who was so brokenhearted that because he thought he was going to marry her, and when he grew up, he was actually a psychic.
That's right.
Right. Because he, I thought that was pretty cool. And I like how he had the vision of his wife telling him, I know some people didn't like that, but I really did like that.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Like, some people are on crack, man. Let me see if I can find that scene. I like that. Steph is here. But I like the vision that he had of his wife telling him about the daughter. I'm sorry, about Julie Purcell, and leading him ultimately to find out that she was still alive. Okay, I can't find the scene, but I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought that when he showed, so there's been a bone of contention about when he shows up at Julie's house, and then he forgets why he's there. I think there's some people think that he was acting. I don't believe that. I believe he genuinely didn't know why he was there.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure that Nick actually confirmed that.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I read that.
Yeah, he didn't. That was so tragic about it was he gets there and this thing that he'd been searching for, and he's finally going to get his answer, and then his mind just, he doesn't even know why he's there, and then the scene where he, gets the water and all of that stuff, and you're thinking, is it going to come back to him that he, why he needed to be there or whatnot, and it doesn't. I thought that was fitting for the way that this season was constructed. That I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I heard that people were complaining they didn't like that. I thought that was actually went in line with the theme of the show. Like, that's why I wonder, do they watch the show? Like, that to me seemed more fitting that would happen.
Well, the thing is, and I think this speaks to a lot of the way that people get so super entitled about their own fandoms. It maybe what was happening there is something like people felt that they were sort of entitled to a different outcome. No, not even a different outcome. A different set of circumstances that ultimately just, there's no way, you're just not going to get it. The season is what the season is.
It's funny. Steph in our chat room really summed it up about how authentic that relationship was, because she wrote, whoever put the line in the script calling the wife a high yellow bitch is authentically country and black. And yeah, that is so true. When I heard him say that, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely an argument that I've had before. So so, but
oh my God, that's hilarious.
But I love, like I said, once again, going back to the relationship once again, I love the way that it ended. Because they showed the big fight, and then they showed the scene where they basically made up and decided that they were going to move forward. And I thought that was what a great ending to it. And that last image of him walking into the he's doing his tracking in Vietnam, and he goes into the brush and disappears. What a perfect ending.
That's exactly how the first episode ended.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode ended, well, not exactly the same, but walking into the trees, right?
Right. It's bookend, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It was really good. Very good. And when he looks back and all of that, that was great. Great.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but there is a when you're doing, and I'm not saying that I'm any professional at doing series or anything, but I have enough understanding, excuse me, to know that there is a continuity aspect to well-produced shows, that over the course of a series, it is really difficult to maintain that level of continuity when you are shooting things out of order, when you are adding things to the script sort of on an improv basis, when things don't maybe line up specifically with the way that they were put into the script. And so when the finished product has such a tight control over the visual narrative, it really is something to celebrate. I can't stress this enough. There's not enough series on TV that are able to do that effectively. And so when you see it, it's really something to celebrate.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. In this show, they did a very good job with that. And, like I said, kudos to them for doing this. I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. I'm going to assume he's probably going to take another couple of years. I think he's even said that. I think he said he's going to do a movie next, possibly, or maybe even another show. If I remember correctly, I think he's on tap to bring something back. Let me look. Uh, okay, I think I could have remembered he just signed up to do something. So it might be, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe probably only one or two more seasons. I doubt it. He doesn't seem like he's gonna do like a.
Yeah, I think I think he likes doing the series, but I think you're right. I think he's actually ready to move on to doing something else. That's what it made me. I all the interviews that I heard and read with him make it sound like that's sort of the direction. Which doesn't mean that there might not be, one or two more series involved, but
Oh, he's working on Deadwood.
Deadwood.
He's a
Oh,
writer on Deadwood, the new Deadwood.
really? Really? Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't even realize he worked on The Killing. Huh. Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. I had no idea he worked on The Killing as well. Yeah, the guy's super talented. Yeah. So we'll see what comes next. Any last things you want to get to?
I don't know. Yeah, okay. There is one thing. One of the things that stood out to me all the way through this is once again, I'm just going to go back to what I had said before about the clever use of time. The reason it wouldn't, I don't think it will make sense to people if you haven't actually seen the series, but a really good reason to watch this particular season of this series is to see how they used time as sort of its own prop. When it's well done, it's really well done. And this, I think, it's really an outstanding example of how to use time as sort of its own narrative element. I don't feel like a lot, even shows that deal with time as sort of the construct, where they like do time jumps or where they have used time to do certain things. Unless you're talking about 12 Monkeys, the idea of using time in the way that these guys did, it really does sort of add a flair for the very end. Because it does make sense. I mean, if you really think about what happens in the end and what the twist really is, time matters.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, like all the things that we see before, they're not just random happenstance. They really do matter.
No, much so. Yeah. And once again, Steph says she took the scenes where he's entering the forest in a different way because she has a relative who did recon and came back with serious mental illness. Even though physically he is living and operating in there, now his mind has, wait a second, the mic is in the way. Physically, he is living and operating in there, and now his mind and the way that he responds, he thinks he's still in the jungle. So yeah, a lot of this season was about the mental toll that it took on not only just being a detective, but going and fighting in the war. Because remember, not just him, but Woodard,
right?
Hoyt. Their time serving in the military was huge, into shaping in who they were now.
Right.
They're no longer in country. So yeah, like Woodard, going back to that, he was a really good character, even though he wasn't in it a ton, but I liked that. So, all right. So, great season 3. Looking forward to it if they do a season 4. I mean, he could do like Curb Your Enthusiasm, where every couple of years or so, when he has an idea, just
yeah.
So I mean, I would hope that's what he would do. Is if it's 5 years, and I think HBO, they would probably give him that leash to do that.
I feel like that would be the best of all worlds for him.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm super excited about Deadwood too.
Yeah, Deadwood. Yeah, and maybe that's right. David Milch wrote co-wrote episode 4 of this season. So okay, that's the little okay.
Nice little tie-in there.
Right. Yeah. So, with that said, let's start off with Olaf. Olaf, are you there, Olaf?
Here.
Right. How can we get you on social media?
Well, you can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter at Olaf Barbosa, but just don't stalk too close because I do get nervous and I do have an itchy trigger finger.
All right. And Jen, how can we get you on social media?
You can find me at Following Bliss One, and I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on a bunch of stuff. And my pride and joy is moviesmakethemeal.com.
All right. You get me at Kente F on Twitter, Kente Ferguson at Instagram, and our website, indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. Next week, we'll be back at Tuesday, our regular scheduled night, at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. We'll have a special episode of The Spotlight where I'll be interviewing the rapper Big V from the group Nappy Roots. With all that said, you guys have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.
Thanks for listening.